But to be
It's
fair, he showed up more than you did.
Story time.
You sound so sad. You sound so sad.
Hey, I only read it the way I was directed.
Daddy, can't tell me a story.
There were words. It was, hey, just say something about personal story time.
Personal story time.
See,
He doesn't sound much better. I mean, if he's speaking with a girl voice and all.
Do you smell toast, Kurt? Do you smell toast?
No.
When I cook it,
then you go. Mike Woodard is doing good just to say English words. All right, I don't hear it.
Oh boy. Oh, I didn't realize that's where you were going.
Joe.
Yes.
When you were a kid, you tell a story about being in Philadelphia and all these other places and walking uphill barefoot both ways. And even when the school canceled, Grandpa NASCAR, rest his soul, he made you go to school. And apparently he made you camp out in a snow berm. We had that story a couple weeks ago. But what horribleness did your father make you do in a hurricane?
So it wasn't my father's doing. He actually said I could stay
Kelsey.
home.
Gotcha.
No. So I had a teacher.
Wait, I got a question. Is this a good Kelsey week? Am I her friend this week or am I not her friend this week?
It varies day by day, depending on which episode she's listening to. There was a hurricane, which I think it technically had just barely dropped down to a tropical storm by the time it hit us. But we knew it was coming, and one of my teachers had assigned a project that was due that day, like it was a Friday, and he told us that anyone who did not show up to school with their project would get a 0. Period.
Even with a hurricane.
Yep.
This is where, as a parent, you go, yeah, screw that school.
And so it was worth a pretty significant part of our grade, and so I was like, I can't afford a 0. So got on the school bus, went to school, did my project.
How many other kids showed up?
I think
like most of the school, half the school, less than half.
In that class, I think we had about 3 people absent. As far as the school in general, I think we were missing about a third of the people.
So a lot of people had parents like, well, the school said show up.
Yep. And so getting to school was fine. The flooding hadn't started yet, but we got early dismissal because the area started flooding so bad. And so trying to get home, I took the school bus. The school bus couldn't even drop me off at my school. They had to let me off about a mile from my school because of flooding. So then I had to walk back to my house in the flooding.
Uphill, both ways.
Well, it was only one way, and it was slightly uphill. It wasn't very much of a grade, but it felt like I was swimming. The water was almost up to my knees, and so trudging through the water. And my I technically had an umbrella, which I had it open, but it very quickly inverted on me and bent all kinds of out of shape and was trashed by the end.
Hurricane winds.
Yeah. Yep. And so I ended up getting home sopping wet and noticed that my brother wasn't home yet. So then I had to go back out into all of this to go to his elementary school, which ironically I had to go back the exact same way that I had just traversed because his school was like, it was in that direction where the bus had dropped me off. So yeah, I was very, very, very wet by the end of all of that.
I know there's going to be a both ways aspect to this story.
There you go. It was, but it was slightly downhill the other way. If it had been a little bit deeper, I would have tried swimming down it. But
oh boy.
Oh,
where were your parents?
At work.
That's right. We're 90s kids.
But and then to add salt to the wound, come Monday, the teacher didn't even give the people zeros that missed. So I could have stayed home. Oh
no, as a parent, I'd have been, hell to the no.
Yeah. No, I get it, but it's just like, can we get a bonus for trudging in the rain the whole time?
How old were you?
In middle school.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have been as mouthy then. High school?
Give you
I
a
would have
sticker.
said, "Oh no, screw these guys. They get zeros." I showed up and they didn't. I mean, I would have gotten thrown out of school and high school, middle school. I'd probably be like, "Good chicks."
Nowadays, the parents would not stand for that.
Yeah. Okay. Nowadays, parents just don't understand. But Dead Baby Turtle says a
Casey.
flood. My family had to live in a creek in a hailstorm. I don't
And with all of the animal life trying to kill you down in Australia.
live in the creek. Don't you mean a van down by the river? Because that's the real quote. I'm not sure where BT is going here.
No, he was being literal.
Like Monty Python, I failed. Kurt, you got any crazy, horrible I showed up stories?
No, I lived through the blizzard of '78. We stayed home like normal people. And literally, if there was a hurricane and the teacher said, go to school and turn in your project or you get a 0, my parents would have said, I guess you'll have to make it up then.
Yeah,
I'll take the 0.
I was homeschooled most of my life. So you get up and watch the TV news and it's doing the school closings. And I was just jealous of kids at that point going, I'm homeschooled. It doesn't matter what the weather does. I have to do school. And I get to see that they're out for snow days for a week and I'm still having to do my Spanish lessons and crap. I was determined. I was never made to do anything in a weird situation like that I can think of. But I was always a hustler and trying to get money. And when I was 18, 19, somewhere in there, maybe 20-ish, I got a job with the local newspaper. It's a bigger city. It's a big paper. And it's in my car and not on a bike, but delivering the Sunday papers. And I went to the interview and all that jazz. And they told me how it worked and so on and so forth. And then I had to show up at a certain time so I could ride with somebody and they can kind of show me the route and show me how you figure things out, which is just, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this. Paper out, paper box. But yeah, they wanted me to third ride with somebody. So I showed up. It was,
Twist it.
There you go. And it was pouring down rain. It wasn't hurricanes or anything, but it was like you couldn't see hardly in front of you. I sat out in that parking lot in my car for like 8 hours from like 10 p.m. to finally at like 3 a.m. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out of here. And I was just, there's no internet, no phones. I'm like reading a book or so. I don't know what I was doing, just waiting for them to say, hey, come on in. And at some point, somebody opened the door on the dock and I kind of saw it, but I'm looking at my car's all lit up, not inside, but outside. And I'm parked kind of where you're not supposed to, but I didn't know where to park. Should have been obvious. Hey, let's go check this car. They didn't. So they just assumed I didn't show up. So like the next day when I called them, I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, oh, well, somebody said you didn't show up. I'm like, no, I sat out there for like 8 hours. I finally left at 3 in the morning. I should have left like an hour into it. And yeah, it was just dumb. And I made some money at that. And it was just dumb. I don't like it. Like 50 degrees Celsius outside. I'm still doing schoolwork. Is that hot or cold?
That's
I don't
122
know.
Really hot.
degrees freedom units.
So, I will say, because I live in the Northeast, right? We have snow up here. I will say they cancel school at the drop of a hat now.
So does the South. We have
That's different.
Blizzard.
That's because you guys don't have trucks.
Well,
no.
There's a lot of factors to that.
No. Pickup trucks are one thing.
We have stupid people, Kurt, because they were told, hey, a storm was coming. And the city was like, yeah. And then the storm started coming in. And people were like, yeah, it's Georgia. And everybody's like, no, baby, this is a real storm. You need to go home. And people stayed at work. Finally, when the snow's coming down and sticking to the roads. Now, I specify that because in the South, that's how you measure snow. You don't measure in inches. You measure is it sticking to the road.
Yeah.
Because people are on it and it's heated. And once it started sticking to this road, that's when everybody in Atlanta wanted to leave instead of just stay put or find a hotel room. And then it hit. And then there's, oh my God, I had to sleep in my car on the side of I-20. No, you didn't, moron. You could have just stayed where the hell you. So yeah, now it's like, oh, they're talking about it's going to be 35 degrees and it might rain. Everybody stay home. We're going to put salt out. I'm like, it doesn't freeze at 35. You're killing me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and when I was a kid, it really like it had to be bad, like a blizzard, to not go to
Yeah.
school.
Is that your real advice, Joe? Just drive like a grandma with a full pot of chili in the car, head into a Sunday brunch. She'll be fine.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Just go
slow it down.
slow and careful.
Yep.
Yeah. And momentum matters, not hitting those brakes.
Yeah, that's why you go slow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I do love. I did see a TikTok recently where a 4-wheel drive was like stuck in a ditch, spinning its wheels. This little Prius or tiny little car just kind of slowly went around them and kept going. It's like, yeah, 4-wheel drive doesn't mean you get traction, dummy. You know, and they drive it like, oh, it's a tank. Anyway, I'm cranky. Did I mention I'm like Cranky Kong?
Oh, here's
if you're Donkey Kong, Kurt, you're Banjo and Kazooie.
So, hey, because segues are for kids. I know the guy that invented Bop It.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I worked with him. Yeah. So, fun fact. Okay,
Was he-
moving on.
did he
You know what?
twist
I was
it?
about to make a joke that doesn't work for this show,